Good Monday evening. I'm supposed to be upstairs. It's dinner time. I've been down in the office since I got home trying to organize all of the files that I have from GoPro, Insta, God knows what, and try to name them and organize them and figure out how I'm going to start popping off videos. But this is a quick video. I want to say I'm going to apologize. I dropped 2 videos today, and that was not my intent. I think that's a little too much. I screwed up on the date and time, but it is what it is. Merry Christmas. But I want to do just a quick video here, and I'm going to try to do this with one hand because I'm holding my huge phone. So what we have here is the Beta 95X V2. This was my first pusher and kind of pushed me towards making other pushers, and I've done some mods and stuff like that to it. I got a makeshift mount on here right now to test out. I finally got the Insta 2 on here with some parts that I had lying around. It works great, I ain't gonna lie. I'm OCD as hell, and I want it to be made for it. And one of my biggest pet peeves for this thing, which drives me absolutely insane, is they don't sell the parts. And that's why I'm looking for the mount that has the 2 arms on it to hold this, is that these arms are super short that hold the camera, and this is no longer whatever came on here. It was like an EOS 2. The back basically hits the back of what's behind here. So I tried to swap it to a Foxy Razor before, and I actually had to de-pin the plug and wire. Sorry, my hand's in the way there. I had to run the wires down to get it to fit right, and then I found another place for that camera to go, and then putting up the ratel on here. And the wires do go down, but it leaves me very little room to wiggle it around. So I found a mount on Thingiverse, but I don't print. Hopefully Brian will be able to print it for me. Who the hell knows? But yeah, so it creates the proper mount here, and it has 2 little arms that come out, giving this a lot more room. But that is not the point of this video. And if you ask why, Chris, you have wires floating around, that is so I can swap. So 2 screws real quick, and I can swap, and I can put the SMO on here. So I like doing modular with 2 minutes in the field and not losing any screws. I could swap out and put different cameras. But this video, back to it, is intended for antenna caring for your antennas. I probably threw it away, so let me see if I can find it real quick here. Hold on. FUBAR. I like when I have a great idea. I'm supposed to go upstairs, and then I make a video, and I'm doing it, and there it is. Throw the shit away. So it had this antenna on it, and I thought it was great. Well, it's obviously broken somewhere, and I'm going to guess somewhere in here. One of my pet peeves with this quad is where the UFL, if I'm saying that right, connector is. The original shorty kind of dipped down real hard into here and then came out this stupid hole. And it was a wicked, stupid bend, and it probably worked, and it worked. And I didn't really test it or open up the VTX all the way with the factory antenna, but I figured having an antenna up and out would have made more sense, which I did with this. And I think through the abuse of crashing and hitting things, and you whip through a tight gap, this thing's sticking up, it gets hit. It sounds fine, but I think it torqued whatever is inside here. So long story short, I did some testing today because I got some great footage yesterday, but I was limited to distance because it kept basically the whole video feed turned into snow, and here in New England we're not ready for snow yet, so I was quite pissed off. And I got a lot of it, to the point where I literally, thankfully I had a visual spotter, and Brian had his goggles on to enjoy the flight and was able to guide me. So I'm flying and he's telling me where to go to get me back where my video feed was. So I came home and I said, before I rip this out and think it's the VTX, I did find the tutorial, because it seems like every time I try to switch something through the tramp wire or smart audio, it is not switching and saving. But I went in and did the button press after finding how to do it a certain amount of times to make that VTX all the way to 350 milliwatts. So what I did today, before I did anything else, was I took the antenna off. I grabbed this piece of shit whip antenna, and I went and flew around outside, and it flew good. So I said, is it the antenna, or is it the fact that I finally got this off 25 milliwatts thinking it was 200, and having it better signal, because I was able to go around the house, no problem, down into the woods while sitting in front of the house on purpose. Obviously a little bit of static because of this. So I went back in the house, I slapped this thing on, I got about 8-10 feet around the corner and completely snowed out. So Thankfully, it was just a piece of shit connector that I'm going to have to order more for. If you have this quad, my recommendation, I shaved, and which is really hard to see here because, there you go. I took and I shaved the carbon fiber nicely and smoothly and rounded it so there's no sharp edges. And again, this isn't going to stay on here. So this can sit as flat as possible. I always put hot glue around the edge to hold it, because if it catches something and decides to pop off, which it has, I was going to make a joke and say, I can tell you why, because it ends up smoking the VTX. It overheats, and by the time you find it, it is too effing late and you wasted all your time. So I make sure the connection is good, and I put a drop of glue somewhere so it holds it, and it's been a lifesaver. So I prepped. I have to order some antennas, but this is making sure that it is nice and smooth, rounded, works good. I'll run tube up the antenna, and I'll do the same type of antenna, either the iFlight or the Fox Ear. I like the Fox Ears. I couldn't find the mini ones for the price of those, so we'll see. iFlight's got a really cool one, and it'll match the blue, which I think will be nice. And I always heat shrink. So this is a second place of, what do you call that? It's held down in two places, so the hot glue helps, and then I will run this through heat shrink and then on here. So God forbid you hit anything or get hooked, which I have, and it's hanging on this. The heat shrink helps to hold this in place so it doesn't stress on there, because that is a weak point. And if it decides to rip off, again, I know this by experience, without that extra there, one time I just had a zip tie up on the end underneath the ball part of the antenna, and it did. It got caught on a branch and was hanging. It broke free the glue, and when the thing came off, it took the connector, the UFL connector, off with it. And there was a lot of swearing involved, and it was not an easy build or a place to get to. So it was a fun thing that I don't want to do again. So, real quick, that is my recommendation. When you build, especially with micro, like I want to get the Fox Ear Reaper or the Eachine Nano or the VTX03s that have these UFLs, make sure you have points of contact to help keep it secure. Drop some glue on it. Make sure it's accessible. I know that's not always the case with micros, but make sure it's in a place where hopefully you can change it without having to gut the quad or really ugly places, and it'll make your life easier. That is my 7-minute, 40-second advice for the day. I hope it helps somebody. Brian, if you're watching this, thank you for your patience. Yesterday was a pain in the ass with this guy, but I definitely got some killer footage. So stay tuned for that. I probably have 12 different videos that I got to cycle through and start editing and get out to you guys, so I got to come up with a schedule for that. So stay tuned. Holidays are coming. Enjoy. Peace out.